Today we're going to look at videos that you send me to talk about what's going on in the world. I'm Lucid Rob, and if this is your first time watching, consider liking and subscribing to the channel, sharing with your friends, commenting below what you want to see in the next video. Let's get into it.
All right, listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just some wild theory. It's the truth they don't want you to know. The world as you think you know it, it's a lie. A fabricated illusion built to keep people complacent, ignorant, and trapped inside a massive prison disguised as a safe haven.
Okay, real quick. We're going to be talking about these videos. I just want to make that clear. We're gonna watch them. We're gonna talk about them. I don't believe in flat Earth. A lot of you guys have given me shit about that. I believe a lot of weird shit. Flat Earth is not one of them. So let's see if this video can maybe change that. Maybe wake me up a little bit.
But let's start from the beginning. For over a century, the people of Earth believed they were the last remnants of civilization, locked behind three massive walls: Gideon, Luthar, and Orin, because beyond them, monsters. Towering, mindless creatures called Nephilim, whose only instinct seemed to be to devour humans. No one knew where they came from. No one questioned why they existed. They just accepted that the walls were their only salvation. Sounds suspicious, right? Then came Ren Holst. Not a soldier, not some chosen hero, a researcher. Unlike most, Ren wasn't satisfied with the official narratives. He had spent years studying the old ruins near the edge of the walls, uncovering ancient texts, forgotten artifacts, and strange symbols that pointed to a past far different from the one they had been taught.
Just had a thought. So they say that we're on the inside of the ice wall called Earth, just the inner continent. It's like a prison for us. But what if God, whatever God that is, put us here on this side of the wall to protect us from all the crazy shit that was outside of the wall, like giants and stuff?
The more he dug, the more questions arose. If the world outside was just death and monsters, why were there records of thriving cities beyond the walls? If humanity had always lived inside this prison, why did the oldest maps show roads leading outward? Ren's obsession led him to a hidden chamber beneath the city, one that had been sealed for generations. What he found inside shattered everything he thought he knew. Maps of the world beyond the walls, blueprints of cities far more advanced than anything inside Earth, and records, detailed accounts of a war that no one inside the walls had ever been told about. A war between Pantheia and the descendants of the Nephilim, the very ancestors of the people locked away on Earth. Then the real nightmare began. Ren was no longer just a researcher, he was a threat. The ruling powers of Earth had spent centuries ensuring that no one ever asked these questions. The walls weren't built to keep Nephilim out. They were built to keep people in.
All right, well, that answers my question. I guess. But I could have swore it was Lemuria and Atlantis that went to war together. Where the two things that he mentioned were the races that live there. It's always been Lemuria and Atlantis, from what I've heard. This is new to me.
The Nephilim? Not some freak accident of nature. They were weapons. Tools of oppression created by Pantheia, a vast and advanced empire that had been controlling the fate of those trapped inside. And the worst part? The people behind the walls weren't the victims of some external catastrophe. They were prisoners. The descendants of the Nephilim, once rulers of great cities, had been sealed away, their past erased, their knowledge suppressed. Pantheia had rewritten history, feeding them the lie that they had always lived in fear of the Nephilim, when in reality they had been locked away to ensure they would never rise again. And here's the real kicker. This isn't just ancient history. It's still happening. The walls may not be made of stone anymore, but they exist. Borders, systems, beliefs, everything carefully constructed to keep humanity contained, blind to its true origins. Every war, every crisis, every catastrophe, it's all part of a cycle designed to prevent people from looking too far beyond the world they've been given. But the truth can't stay buried forever. And once Ren uncovered it, everything changed. The war wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about rediscovering, about reclaiming a past that had been stolen. And that, my friend, is the real story of humanity.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong about everything kind of being constructed and orchestrated in a way to kind of keep us down. You know, from learning too much, keep us from being too enlightened, keep us from, I guess, just like reaching a higher level of consciousness, if that's what you're into. I ate a lot of mushrooms, so I'm very into that route of higher consciousness. But I always feel like everything, like ancient documentation, obviously not all of it, but like the fantastic claims and stuff are just metaphors, right? So like this like great like ice wall, whatever thing could be like a metaphor for exactly what he was talking about at the end of the video, where it's just like oppression. People have been oppressed since humans have been humans. There have been slaves and kings and gladiators and emperors and, you know, impoverished people and the global elite, and it's just has gone on and on and on. So I don't know, maybe it's just a big metaphor.
Have you ever heard of the phantom time conspiracy? What if I told you that a significant chunk of our history might not even exist? According to this, the years between 614 and 911 AD were completely fabricated. That's right, they never happened.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I don't remember much of anything between the ages of 5 and 13, so I guess we're kind of all in the same boat here.
Picture this. The Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, desperate to legitimize his reign, supposedly conspired with the Church to create a phantom timeline, all to rewrite history. But why? What could possibly be the motive behind erasing nearly 300 years from our collective memory? Were they hiding something, or protecting a dark secret?
So the Dark Ages happened, and basically, from what I understand, the Dark Ages, they basically got rid of, just like destroyed and burned and basically erased everything that did not align with the narrative, right? The religious narrative at that point. If it wasn't like Catholic or Christian or whatever it was, the Templar or whoever did it, I don't remember. But some religious sect basically went around and started removing ancient knowledge and ancient scripture and literally anything that did not align with what they wanted you to know. And that is definitely carried over into the modern day when it comes to the media and when it comes to, I mean, religion even, and cults. And I mean, everybody's got a motive, right? Everybody has some ulterior motive when they're at, I feel like, that big of a following and with that much influence over like an entire populace of people, right? There's literally just history repeating itself.
Experts argue that historical evidence doesn't support this theory. But what if there's more to the story? Could it be possible that we're living in a fabricated timeline with truths lost in the shadows of time? Remember, history is written by the victors. What do you think? Is history what we believe it to be?
So I definitely saw something talking about like we're actually like 100 years behind or ahead of where we supposedly are as far as the calendar that we follow. They like removed a month, moved stuff around, and basically just like erased 100 years of our history. And I think that's where a lot of people think the mud flood happened with like Tartarian and stuff. They basically kind of put that in the same box, I guess, or in the same realm of possibilities. Like, okay, they removed 100 years of our civilization. And if you look at it from like 1800, the year 1800, like where we are now, we supposedly went from a horse and carriage, horse and buggy, to literal like stealth bombers and spaceships. And before that, I'm pretty sure we went from like horses to the horse and buggy was like an 1800 year like gap or something like that. So there's a lot of technological advancements that supposedly happened within like a 200-year gap comparatively to everything before it. And I know technology does evolve rapidly once like it starts going, essentially. Like it's like the growth is exponential. It's like compounding growth once you hit a certain point. That's where we're at now. But there wasn't really anything there. I feel like there should have been more time in between that, like 200 years essentially, that all this technological advancements happened. And if we were to, you know, try to erase an entire 100 years of our history for whatever reason, that would make sense, because it would give like 100 more years of time toward the technological advancements that we're currently seeing now and make it seem a little more realistic. But maybe I just don't have that great of an understanding of the rapid success rate of technological advancements once they kind of hit the trajectory and the momentum that they're currently at. Let me know.
What if I told you the world's all a stage, an elite network of masterminds who've perfected the art of manipulation over centuries? They operate entirely from the shadows, their faces and names unknown, yet their influence is felt everywhere. They set up everything as if it's a massive play. CEOs, the media, are actors filling a script, playing their part to keep the rest of us distracted and compliant. Each scandal and every leak, all carefully timed and staged, they have eyes everywhere. Surveillance isn't just about security. It's about monitoring the audience. They watch how we react and measure how effective their performance is, and adjust the play accordingly. If the people start getting too close to the truth, they create something new, a new plot, or something crazy to refocus everyone's attention. And those who try to break free, asking questions are labeled, are silenced, or removed from the stage.
If you don't already know, the aliens are coming in 3 weeks. The James Webb Telescope has detected non-human ships heading for Earth at light speed. Estimated time is 3 weeks. But of course, this is only a small snippet of ships, as there are thousands of ships already here. But we cannot see them because they are on a different frequency.
Well, then what the good does it do? Why tell me about it if I can't see it? Where's the proof? I don't have night vision goggles. I'm not a cat. I can't see things in different frequencies. Getting really worked up right now.
Have you seen the thing about the book from 1953 that talks about Elon wanting to go to Mars? Like a Werner von Braun?
No.
Have you seen this? Elon tweeted it. You can find it. This is in a Werner von Braun book. So Elon is the elected leader of the Martian government. 1953 book, Mars Project by Werner von Braun says the leader of Mars shall be called Elon. Someone pulled the original German manuscript out of the archives, debunked the myth, only to confirm that von Braun did indeed predict he'd be called Elon. And Elon writes, how can this be real? It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy because the guy's literally obsessed with Mars and has created rockets that you can catch.
So stuff like that happens, like with the Elon Mars thing being projected in like an old book. It's like the Baron Trump or the Last President books. I basically say like Baron Trump was a time traveler and he was going to be the last president. I don't know if that means it's going to be a dictator or if that means the world's going to end or if that means they're going to just abolish like a one ruler government or something and turn it into something else. I don't know. Or just maybe he'll just ascend from president to emperor. I don't know. I don't know what it means, but it is pretty crazy that there are these old books that are basically like predicting things that are kind of coming to fruition like so many years later. It's pretty nuts. And I don't know how to explain it.
Interdimensional spirit dragons. You're saying those flying serpents actually existed. And that's why in the show Dragon Ball Z, the Eternal Dragon had the ability to grant 3 wishes, just like a genie.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Didn't you think it was strange that every continent has tales of these creatures? But here's the thing. Some say all dragons were like dinosaurs, walking, breathing, biological creatures. But the type of dragons I'm talking about didn't exist in our physical plane. They're here on Earth, but not in a way we can directly see or touch. Think of it like a parallel reality or another dimension layered over ours. They're right here with us, but just outside the frequencies our senses can detect. And that's why the stories of dragons and flying serpents are universal, because people throughout history caught glimpses of these beings when the veil between dimensions broke, even when it never should have. The Chinese dragon, for example, looks like a flying serpent, right? It doesn't have wings like the European dragons, but it floats effortlessly. That matches descriptions of beings that aren't bound by our laws of physics. They weren't flying in the traditional sense. They were moving just like demons, ghosts, or spirits. And it's not just China. Look at the Aztecs and the Mayans. They worshipped Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. It was a god, a bringer of knowledge. Now think about that. Why would a flying serpent be associated with wisdom? Because these beings weren't just animals. They were far more advanced than that.
Wait, the serpent in the Bible he granted Adam and Eve knowledge as well. So to say that these serpents, these dragons are a multidimensional being or a spiritual being or something like that, and they're associated with knowledge, it makes more sense now that the serpent in the Garden of Eden that offered to grant Eve knowledge if she ate the pomegranate or the apple or star fruit, whatever it was, makes a lot of sense. Even though I think the whole Adam and Eve Garden of Eden story is kind of lame. This kind of sounds like God was being like oppressive and just didn't want them to kind of like be enlightened and like awaken. I don't know, the serpent kind of sounds like the good guy in that aspect to me. Just saying. I mean, if you tell someone like if you want someone to remain stupid and ignorant to what is happening, and then you're gonna punish them for like going out of their way to like dig deeper and find like the little details and the things you're keeping from them, like, I mean, it just kind of sounds like an oppressive ruler to me, and that's going to piss some people off, but I'm just being honest. That's exactly what our government's doing to us and has been doing to us. And people like Edward Snowden, other people are getting punished for doing exactly what Eve did. So, back to the video.
They may have actually been manipulating us, depending on how you interpret the stories. But it gets even weirder. If you dig into ancient texts, you'll find references to serpents or dragons that came from the sky. How do isolated civilizations, with no contact with each other, all describe nearly identical creatures. Serpents that fly, serpents that bring fire, serpents that teach humanity forbidden knowledge. The real question is, why did they interact with us at all? Were they here to help us, to control us, or manipulate us? Whatever the reason, the fact that every culture on Earth has dragon legends means one thing. We weren't just imagining these beings. We were seeing them, even if we couldn't fully understand what they were. And let's talk about why these beings aren't seen anymore. People say, well, if they were real, where are they now? Well, that's a whole other theory. How? Since the 1700s, a grand plan was initiated to deceive people into believing that Satan and his army don't exist. That's why in the show, the eternal dragon could grant 3 wishes, just like a genie, a jinn. The truth is, dragons are just another form of demons, the flying serpent type. Look, if my page disappears tomorrow, you'll only find my content on other platforms.
Yo, all right, Shenron is not a demon. You leave that guy alone. He's dope. He's dope as hell, all right? I'm weird in the way, I don't know if I'm weird. Maybe I'm just a little more based and just like unafraid to actually say this, but why are the gods like the devil, for instance, or like demons or these dragons or whatever, why are the spiritual beings that are granting wishes and actually helping people, giving them what they want, why are they the bad guys? A lot of people make like excuse and they're like, God is, he's not going to grant you your prayer that, not needed or not necessary for you. The hardships are necessary. And then people are saying like, oh, that's the devil or whatever is going to deceive you. He'll give you everything you want, but he'll deceive you in the end. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, it makes me understand why people would, like in Hollywood or whatever, like choose to worship a god that actually helps them get what they want instead of like punishing them for being human and having human impulses and, actually helping and giving them what they want to be where they want in life. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a religious person. I'm right in the middle. I like to look at things from each side and just kind of play devil's advocate and be like, okay, well, why do these people think this? Why do these people think this? I understand why people would take the easier route, but at the same time, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me that the one you're supposed to be worshiping and following wouldn't be doing those things for you. And then like basically allowing the enemy to do it instead and just make it harder for you to have faith in him to actually like be the correct guy to be asking for stuff. I don't know. Probably gonna lose some followers. I don't know. I'm not telling you all to worship the devil. I'm just trying to figure this stuff out. Well, let me know what you think down in the comments and check out the merch. The link's in the description. It's pretty cool stuff. Subscribe, like the video if you haven't already, and tell your friends.
So people are saying they found like a big serpent at the end of Antarctica. You seen that?
Antarctica, no.
Look, I'll show you.
Let me see.
In this is back to Revelation.
Yeah.
But in the book of Revelation, they say there's gonna be a huge serpent or like a big dragon that's gonna, cause havoc on the world. They say this looks like a serpent head. And this is on Google Earth, on Google Maps. You've seen it.
Oh,
so
shit.
look at the face or look at the head. It literally looks like a serpent, right? Now, what they're saying is this whole time there's been a dormant serpent or dormant dragon, whatever it may be. And then that's the one that will awaken when the world ends.
Damn.
Did you see a dragon? I didn't see a dragon. Can't say I saw a dragon.
One of the first original public clones was Michael Jackson.
What?
Yes. So if you take a look at Michael Jackson, right? Oh, he had plastic surgery. This is why they're making plastic surgery really popular, quote unquote, because they can basically deduce, oh, the celebrity had plastic surgery. It's not a clone, it's plastic surgery. That's why they look different, right? So Michael Jackson was their first sort of test run for cloning, and specifically the reason why they replaced him with a clone was because he was saying too much.
So we know they can clone animals. They know that they're like bringing back like the woolly mammoth. With the woolly mammoth, they're using like dino DNA and also like African elephant DNA to make like a hybrid. But I think they clone chickens and like pigs and stuff, right? Like just based off of their own DNA. If they can do it with animals, pigs specifically, because our DNA is very similar to a pig, they can definitely do it with humans.
According to the Anunnaki, human beings were created in a way that genetically we were supposed to become more superior than them. They didn't know this was going to happen. And Lil was angry at his brother Enki because Enki put a little extra in the sauce. And he said that the mysteries to unlock the secrets of the universe is hidden within our bodies, and that we ourselves can rise to be even higher than them. This was a major thing to be putting into text like this. And I believe that because when I started studying DNA, that took me into a whole DNA study. I discovered this scientist called George Church. And he created this ebook that he was able to take from a digital format, and he was able to download it onto 1 drop, 1 gram of DNA, a digital book, convert it from zeros and ones into A's, T's, T's, and G's, read, write, put it on the DNA. Then he said, wow, this is incredible. DNA can store information in a volume. Then he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Let's replicate this book. So he replicated the book 80 billion times on 1 gram of DNA. So then he said, let's see if we can get it back. So he converted, he created a read write again. He converted it from A's, C's, T's, and G's back to zeros and ones and uploaded it back to the server. So now he knows that DNA can upload and download information. Crazy.
Whoa.
So now they said, okay, well, how much data can be stored on 1 drop? Over 433 petabytes of data. A petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. Yeah, so they
insane.
said, now they discovered recently on holmium atoms, scientists have now written information, data onto an individual holmium atom. And they discovered that we can store information. They can read write directly onto the surface of an actual atom.
Oh my
now, think about that for a second.
Oh my God.
So they're saying that a human body can store 13.5 billion years or roughly of data, which is roughly around the time they believe the universe probably exists. So that myth of Adapa text could be accurate. The secrets of the universe is probably encoded into our body because we're just recycled atoms.
So I know a lot of people don't like Billy Carson. I'm indifferent. I don't care. I think the stuff he says is just as fun and interesting to listen to as other people, even though it may not be as truthful. I don't care. I'm not here trying to solve mysteries. I'm here to learn and have fun. And I'm not trying to like unlock hidden secrets and take down the cabal. I don't give a shit about that. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to have fun. So Billy Carson videos, fun. I'm watching them. That stuff aside, even if most of the stuff he says is foolish, I've heard all that elsewhere with like DNA basically being able to store a ton of information on our DNA. Also seen some things about them finding something like that throttles our development in our DNA. Like we have like a limiter in our DNA somewhere to make us, stay younger than our bodies would potentially be able to reach age-wise. Not really sure how true all that is, but I've heard it somewhere. So if you know more about that, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you know more than me, because you probably do, and I would like to know what you know.
But equally as important as the recollections we can see are the memories of many St. Louisans for whom the fair is still a personal experience. Among these is Miss Dina Lang, who has been a teacher in public schools in St. Louis for over 50 years and who has written a history of St. Louis. Well, Miss Lang, if I may ask, how old were you at the time of the fair?
Well, I was in my first year at high school. And that made me about 15.
What area were you living in?
We had just moved over on the north side. There was a new section of St. Louis near Sarah and Maffett that had just opened up. And in May of 1904, we moved into the new home.
Well, did you go over to the fair much?
Very often. In fact, the whole year preceding the opening of the fair, we went 2 or 3 times a week. I had a brother who was a young architect, was very much interested out there in the buildings, and I went with him quite often.
What's your most lasting personal impression of the fair?
Well, it was the most magnificent spectacle I think I've ever seen. I've been to many other fairs, and I don't think any of them have ever come up to the World's Fair.
You mean architecturally, just in spaciousness?
Architecturally, in its glory and its magnificence. It was the first time that we had used electricity with any great, or the first time the buildings were being lighted with electricity, and we certainly used it there to a great effect.
What did you find yourself doing at the fair most of the time?
Oh, well, we roamed around. We knew every spot of the whole fair, all the way from the entranceway of the Pike to the Igorota villages and on to the agriculture buildings and horticulture. And of course, always at night, there was the gorgeous cascades and the electric lights and the Pike with its Ferris wheels and chutes and
exhibits and rides?
Exhibits of all kinds.
Well, I've heard that I've heard that the fair was quite a place as far as being an area for the introduction of all kinds of new novelty foods, or what were then novelty foods. We heard that the ice cream cone was first introduced at the fair, is that right?
Yes, I'm quite sure. That was the first time, at least, that I ever saw ice cream cones, and we had them quite often. They sold them usually 2 for a nickel, so that they went sort of far, too. Sometimes 2 people could eat 1 ice cream cone. Then we had lovely little rosette cakes. They were made by dipping an iron into a batter and putting it into some hot fat. And, oh, those were delicious. And the barbecue sandwiches.
That was the debut of the barbecue sandwich on a
I
large
think
scale?
probably it was. And they were far better than anything I have ever eaten. And you could get a big one for 5 cents. And these stands were all over the fairgrounds, and the food was excellent. Then, of course, it was if you were very wise in your selection, you could get free meals all day long. You go to Pillsbury exhibit and get hot cross buns and coffee cake and breads.
What was your favorite exhibit?
Well, I think probably, let's see, the Festival Hall and the Igoroti Village. I think that the Philippine village with its lovely bridge across the river there and all the different tribes, I think.
So we know that the World's Fair had immaculate architecture. It had electricity running through buildings for the first time at that level. Anyway, it had a electric walkway, like what they have at the airport. It's like a horizontal escalator. It's like a moving treadmill. They had one of those there back in 1904. But they said that all the buildings were almost like a plaster, like a paper mache like kind of thing, like a very thin, shitty wood frame with like a paper mache, not very durable, doesn't last forever foundation. So they went up very quickly and were able to be pulled down very quickly. So none of those buildings, aside from one of them or something, is like still up or something. But I don't know. I saw something about a building that was there during the World's Fair that the other buildings were built up around the same time. It's like a courthouse or something. I don't recall exactly what it was. It's still there, and it's very much a real building with real foundation. Amazing architecture, and it's still standing. So I'm not sure why they would make some things to last and others not to. But nonetheless, I like the Tartarian theory. I like the idea of a hidden civilization, a hidden past, for whatever reason. I'm still not sure why that reason would be, so let me know if you know. I've seen lots of different theories about what it could be. I know that people have been very, very big on erasing history since the beginning of time. Through the Dark Ages, through religion, through the government, through politics, through secret societies, through whatever. They always say victors write the history. So nobody really knows what happened at the end of the day. What's true and what's not, unfortunately.
What if I told you there's a continent that exists outside the parameters of our sun? A place of eternal night, where an entire civilization lives in absolute darkness. Welcome to Pantheia.
Where the hell is that?
Thousands of miles beyond the ice wall. Look, these people aren't cavemen. They're a fully functioning civilization, but one built without warmth, without mercy, without the distractions of color and joy. The Panthean capital, Nixara, is a sprawling city built from black stone and bioluminescent crystal, its buildings towering like jagged monoliths into the sky.
This can't be real, man.
I wish it weren't. The Pantheans themselves are far more terrifying. They're a horrific biological offshoot of humanity, a version of us that evolved to survive in total darkness. Pale-skinned, almost translucent. Their eyes and bone density are about 5 times larger than the average human. Sickest part is they have energy harvesting farms. They survive off their own people.
Listen, you've been lied to your whole life. Earth isn't what you think it is. It's not a globe floating in space, and it's not just a flat plane either. The truth is much bigger, much stranger. Earth is just a crater, a single isolated crater on an incomprehensibly massive planet. What we call Earth, the continents, the oceans, everything we know, exists within the walls of this enormous impact site. And beyond those walls, there are more craters, more Earths, more places like ours, cut off from each other, separated by vast, untraveled, and possibly untraversable distances. Think about it. That's why we're told we can't explore Antarctica freely. It's why every space mission feeds us the same curated images the same rehearsed stories. Because space isn't what we think it is. What we see when we look up, the stars, the planets, the so-called infinite universe, could just be an artificial projection, a manufactured sky keeping us complacent, keeping us from asking what's really outside this crater. And that's the real question, isn't it? What's beyond? Why are we trapped here? Who or what built this system? And why is no one allowed to leave?
So as if flat Earth wasn't bad enough, now we have crater Earth. There's a crater Earth theory. Bro, where does all this shit come from? Like, why are people so adamant about just like thinking that the Earth is not round? Like, what benefit is that? Like, what benefit comes with thinking or disproving that the Earth is not round? Is it just like, I told you so, they lied to us? Like, bro, of course they're lying to us about most things. The government lies to us about most things. So you don't need to try to prove some crazy theory, some like literally a wild theory when it comes to all the theories you could choose from. Flat Earth, I would say most people think is like the wildest one. Like, you don't have to prove that theory correct, or rather the way science works, disprove that the Earth is round, because that's what scientific progress is. It's disproving something, not proving something. So that being said, you don't have to disprove that the Earth is round in order for people to take you seriously that, yes, we're being lied to. We're being lied to about religion. We're being lied to about our politics. We're being lied to about our history, the wars we fought, why we fought them, who our enemies are, how we came to be where we are. Like, of course we're being lied to. It was like, pick an easier win, you know? Pick an easier conspiracy theory to prove. Because it's going to have the same effect that you're looking for, trying to prove that the Earth is flat. That's all I'm saying. No, clearly I don't think the Earth is flat. It's the first time hearing about it. I absolutely don't think that we're living in a giant crater. Not sure where that came from, but what do I know? What do I know, right? I know that I'm as old as I am, and that I like the taste of certain foods, and that music is cool to listen to. That's pretty much all I know for sure. Outside of that, it's all up for debate, I guess. So let's debate about it.
What if I told you that before you even entered this world, you made an agreement? A sacred pact known as the soul contract. This contract shapes the journey of your life, determining the challenges you'll face and the souls you'll encounter. Imagine a map of your entire existence, crafted by the wisdom of your higher self. A map that reveals the lessons you must learn, the people you need to meet, and the experiences you must live to fulfill the true purpose of your soul. But what if I told you there's a deeper layer? These contracts often include karmic relationships, souls from past lives with unfinished business destined to cross your path once again. The obstacles you face aren't random. Each challenge is a key part of your soul's evolution, guiding you toward the person you're meant to become.
I don't know, man. I find it hard to believe that if we chose the life that we're living right now, prior to actually living the life, that so many people would be having such a hard time. But I guess it's different on like a cosmic level, right? Like, we look at the bad stuff and we're just like, oh, this is terrible, I wish it wasn't happening. But like a spirit or like a consciousness or whatever the hell you want to call it doesn't know what bad stuff feels like the same way we do. It's probably all relevant to them or relative to them. So they probably want to experience everything they can, good and bad, ugly, beautiful, so on and so forth. So fortunately, we got to put up with it. Thanks, me.
I have an announcement next week that will impact the entire nation. That's the cryptic message that has everybody asking the exact same thing. Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, yes, the same one who believes that UFOs and UAPs are of non-human origin, some of them at least, just released that message, and it has the internet buzzing. In addition, Congressman Jared Moskowitz, who was also at the recent UAP hearings, replied with just 2 words. I know. I mean, come on. So Americans obviously flooded the internet asking one burning question. Is UAP disclosure finally happening? Think about it. She's seen classified files. She's been in many secret meetings and briefings. What does she know that we don't? And why now? Well, not so fast, because she also stated it's bigger than aliens.
Announcement next week that will impact the entire nation. Press conference to be announced soon. Everyone's wondering if it's aliens, but maybe it goes even deeper than that.
Yeah, I think
can you tell us?
I think it's bigger than that. I think that for far too long, people have been lied to by their government, and so I won't get too much more into the details, but we're going to be doing something really big.
What does Congress know? I think quite a bit. What do you think of Luna's announcement? What do you think it's about? Could it be something relating to the JFK files being released, or do you think it actually has something to do with disclosure? Let me know.
So it would be cool, obviously, if she was talking about aliens, extraterrestrials or something. And I think that what I would prefer, that would be the most exciting for me, would be like, it's bigger than aliens. It's not aliens because they're not extraterrestrials. They're actually here and they've been here the whole time. Or, oh, it's not just people from another planet. It's interdimensional beings or something like that. But I don't think so, man. In this case, I don't think it's going to be disclosure in that. I think it's probably going to be something government related, because especially with all the stuff that Doge and Musk are doing, going through everything and just basically ripping apart the spending of U.S. tax dollars to foreign nations and just really stupid stuff, just spending our money in dumb ways that doesn't benefit us at all. I think it'll probably be something along the lines of that, just some big bomb being dropped.
Ezekiel first describes the whole object which stands before him as the splendorness of the highest. And now, dear listener, this is very, very important. I know Ezekiel in Hebrew and also in Latin. And in the original language, in the whole Ezekiel text, the word God never appears. When you read your Bible, be it the German Bible or the English Bible, you always read the Lord descended. Not in the original. He always speaks of the highest, somewhere up there. So, he stands there, Ezekiel, and before him is a big object. He calls it the splendorness of the highest. He describes on top of it was something glittering, and inside of this glittering was someone sitting like a man in glittering clothes. A little low, he saw 4 living creatures, and these living creatures had wings. And Ezekiel clearly describes when the wings moved, they made this terrible noise, which I just said before.
The Anunnaki, they are these beings that came from off-world.
So these are aliens?
These are aliens. Now, what's interesting about these aliens is that they're not little green men with antenna. Yeah. They're actually hominids, bilateral bipedal hominids. They look just like us. Now, what's interesting is these beings were a spacefaring race that broke away from the Pleiadian star system. The Pleiadian star system is a group of stars called the Seven Sisters in the night sky. You can see 6 stars with the naked eye. Now, these stars in ancient times, according to ancient texts and tablets, there was an ancient galactic war there.
Okay.
Most of the information from Star Wars comes from this text. And this war, they had these destroyers like Death Stars. They don't call them that, but they call them the Brahma-Astra and Brahma-Astra Honda weapons that actually can release a weapon that can destroy planets.
Okay.
Imagine if you were in a star system and a planet is being blown up and you're in a nearby planet. You gotta get off of your planet.
Yeah.
This created something called space refugees. Nobody's talking about this.
Where are you getting this information again? Where is
the
this?
Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas.
So these are ancient Indian texts.
That's right.
5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Enuma Elish,
I just
which
want
is
to let
Sumerian.
You know.
Alright, it's about to get real, finally. By the way, we'll come right back to this. So we have Stephen Greer back in the headlines, and he is now saying within 72 hours that all of his whistleblowers are going to come forward. Whistleblowers. I'm about to play it for you real quick, 1 second, then we're going to go into some other really weird things. But I want to put you in remembrance of things that he has said real quick. He has said that we have extraterrestrials living in captivity among men. And even further, he drew a line saying that some people aren't people at all, but they're those extraterrestrials, those pesky ETs.
We have a group of people who are in the process in the next 72 hours or so who will be coming forward with a great deal of information and evidence related to the UFO and NHI or extraterrestrial issue.
Oh, it's an issue, is it? Or maybe y'all are creating an issue? So this, what I showed you earlier, is actually this lady was outside, she was seeing orbs in the sky, and she saw the orb transform into a face. ETs or spiritual evil. But you guys, the grand scheme of this entire thing is so much bigger, it's so much more than one person. By the way, this is a video behind me of 100,000 foot. Just telling you that for no reason at all whatsoever. Because of course the organizations obsessed with space are completely irrelevant from anything I'm saying. The same exact ones that provide all our imagery. So I wonder what's gonna happen in 72 hours when his whistleblowers come and they tell the truth. that extraterrestrials from outside of space are here with us, and that there's not some spiritual wickedness going around. And this spiritual wickedness is most certainly not going to take us to the North Pole to make us attack something we know nothing about. Two places, just two places that we cannot go. Look down south, definitely don't look up north. Don't be deceived when you see every person, every political establishment, and every organization all come together. This won't make sense to a lot of you, but to some it will.
Bro, the North Pole is water. That's what nobody talks about it. South Pole is Antarctica, big landmass. The North Pole is water. It's in the middle of the ocean. That's what nobody talks about it. That's why Santa Claus is like such a mystical being. Like, oh, he lives in the North Pole. It's a magical place. It doesn't actually exist. Hence, Santa Claus being magical and being able to live there. I saw something yesterday, actually, that said that Dr. Stephen Greer used to work on the MK Ultra project. I don't know much about that. It's the first time ever seeing it. It didn't have a lot of information behind it. It was just basically kind of like alluding to it. But that's the first time I heard about it. I know a lot of you guys have told me he's like a controlled opposition, basically, and don't like him for it. But if you have more information on that, let me know. Because I just, like I said, I just saw like a really short video about it. And now I'm interested. Now I have to know.
5%. How many bites? 5 feet. That's looking good. Down a half. 6 forward. 60 seconds. Lights on. 6. Down 2.5.
All right, so I talk a lot about a lot of these conspiracy theories. I don't think the Earth is flat. I don't think we live on a giant crater planet that I saw yesterday in yesterday's video. I think that we've been to the moon at this point. Maybe not a manned mission, but something has been there. But this footage, the original footage from the moon landing, is bullshit. Straight up bullshit. It looks so janky. It's laughable, man. It's so crazy to me.
A tall, 7-ish foot praying mantis looking being was upset with me and was
this
chastising me.
This was during one of your abduction events?
This is right around the same time as this mountain bike incident. It was the environment that I thought it was in my bedroom on the third floor of a split level house, and it came through a sliding screen door. There was a deck out there, 3 stories up, no stairs down, and just walked right through the door, was standing over me. And again, I was terrified, frozen, paralyzed to the bed. And I got a male presence vibe from this being. And he's just looking at me very intently and explaining to me, look.
Did he touch your butt? He touched your butt, didn't he? It's okay. It's okay.
This body that you got, it is just a soul housing group. It's a brain housing group. It is just a machine that your soul occupies for this lifetime. And so, yeah, we're going to mess with it. We're going to get up under the hood and we're going to adjust the carburetor, right? I had just dated myself there. We may swap a couple of parts out.
Okay, I was definitely joking before, but now it absolutely sounds like they touched his butt. Poor guy. I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm laughing.
But we can't steal you. We can't steal your soul. We can't steal your consciousness. So quit screaming and writhing around and let us do our frickin' job. And it's like the equivalent of a surgeon telling the patient, stop squiggling, just like the veterinarian to my Labrador Retriever, hold him down for crying out loud, I got to be able to check this tendon.
So I've heard abduction stories tons of times over the years. There's always anal probes. There's always like alien butt plugs. There's always them checking out, you know, the reproductive organs and orifices and whatnot. And I saw a video once, I think it was a video or an article or something, talking about the Greys, the tall Greys, were an alien race that were unable to reproduce for whatever reason. So that's why they had basically made an agreement with our world leaders to say, hey, you know, we'll give you technology to help you progress in certain areas. If you allow us to abduct a certain amount of people to do tests and research on the reproductive organs to basically be able to reproduce again to save their species. So probably should have warned them that they're not going to be getting any dudes pregnant, because that is biologically impossible, no matter how much that hurts your feelings. But yeah, just the anal probes are just unnecessary. It's unnecessary, bro. But hey, I'm not here to kink shame. I'm not here to kink shame at all. You know, the aliens like to have a little fun too.
So you're saying Antarctica wasn't always frozen?
There's a massive hole in Antarctica. You can see it on Google Earth and about 30 meters wide. But here's the weird part. Around that hole, there are bases, research stations. And each base, it's named after a different country. Every major nation has a presence there. They're all studying whatever's in that hole. But that's not even the craziest part. About, I'd say, 15 to 30 miles behind that hole, there's a gigantic pyramid. I'm talking massive. Way bigger than the ones in Egypt. You can see its complete apex. It's been featured on the History Channel, Ancient Aliens. It's not a secret. It's just there. Now, how did a pyramid get in Antarctica? No sand, no tools, just ice. Well, Antarctica wasn't always frozen. That continent, it shifted. The Earth's crust slipped, moved the landmass all the way to the South Pole during a pole shift. Rapid, violent. And here's the scientific proof. As the ice melts thanks to global warming, they're finding animals buried in the ice, perfectly preserved. And when they dissect them, undigested food, still in their stomachs. You know what that means?
They froze instantly?
Exactly. Flash frozen. Something catastrophic happened. Fast. And nobody's talking about it.
I mean, there are megaliths around the world, including in the United States, huge stone structures. And nobody, including any structural engineer in the United States, has no idea how they were built in the pre-industrial age. Like, there's literally not even a good guess as to how this was built. And of course, I don't know the answer either. But I mean, that's such an amazing thing. When were the pyramids built? Nobody knows. How were they built? Nobody knows. I can't get that out of my head. I'm not pushing a conspiracy theory. I'm just noting what we don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why, everyone else is like, shut up. Shut up. What?
No, I'm glad you said that. And there's a lot of other structures that are popping up more nowadays in archaeology. And there's even guys that do surface LiDAR, and they're seeing things in fields and such. It shows the exact topography of the ground.
Exactly.
Without vegetation. And
suggests what's underneath it.
Yeah, so if you start seeing geometric shapes and stuff, might be something.
It might be man-made. Or at least made.
When I say Alexander the Great was potentially Nephilim, it starts off with his mother, Olympias. She was married to King Philip II of Macedonia. She believed that he was half God because her story to Alexander was that he was not the son of Philip II, but was the son of Zeus Ammon. And so that's how Alexander the Great was conceived. And so Alexander the Great believed he was half God, half deity. But the stories of it so wise in the battlefield, conquering everything. He went out throughout the entire world and collected all this hidden knowledge and brought it back, created Alexandria, and that's where the library was formed. But even the ancient Jews and Muslims have this story of Alexander fighting the Nephilim and containing them because he wanted to be the one to defeat all of them in Babylon. And then all of a sudden he struck an ill and then just dies. But where the crazy theory part comes into place, this conspiracy part, is they said that his body laid exactly the same and didn't decompose for over 6 days. And so they built him this elaborate golden casket, and they were going to bring him back to Macedonia. And on their way there, he got hijacked and went to Alexandria. Ever since then, no one knows where his tomb is.
I love ancient history, particularly things relating to ancient Rome. Like, I love Spartacus' story. I love ancient Roman philosophy. And I've never heard anything about that. That's incredibly interesting to me. I know, a lot of those rulers, a lot of those emperors, kings, whatnot, thought that they were half god. They thought they were like not just a regular mortal and stuff. And that's like basically where they gained their confidence to keep doing what they were doing. You know, they kind of built that image that they were more than just a man for their followers, and obviously helped their followers justify following them and doing what they wanted, and putting their trust in them to actually get things done. But I've never heard that before. Now I'm going to look more into that, and that's another rabbit hole for me. There's one more for the books.
And you're not thinking right now. You're following orders. You're not thinking for yourself. You're not in touch with your soul. Because if you were, you would take that off and you would breathe freely, which is the #1 form of nutrition. And if you don't have proper oxygen, you can't have cognitive function. And if you can't think right, you're easily pushed around and controlled and manipulated.
Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard, his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. Revelations 13:2. Yet I am the Lord thy God from the land of Egypt, and thou shalt know no God but me. For there is no Saviour beside me, so I will be to them like a lion. Like a leopard by the road I will lurk. I will meet them like a bear deprived of her cubs. I will tear open their ribcage, and there I will devour them like a lion. The wild beast shall tear them. Hosea 13:4-8.
I'm at the Denver airport with a new art installation in the center of the airport. We start off here with the world. At the South Pole there is a gate, and then around the world is sand. At the North Pole there's this pole that leads up to this arrow. The arrow points down to what it looks like perhaps a firmament, to a train station. I should also mention the world is depicted as flat over there. From the train station, from the arrow, we come down here. Perhaps a way to get in and out of the world as we know it. Again, surrounded by rocks and sand. Maybe this is where the lizard people live. It's weird.
What if I told you the firmament is what stops them going back to the moon? Think about it. Despite how far tech has come since 1969, not a single structure has been built up there. We've got 4K cameras in our pockets, AI writing college papers, billionaires launching rockets, but no one set up a basic moon cabin, not even one building. Why? Because if they did build anything, any family with a telescope could spot it. You'd have backyard dads zooming in saying, "Hey, there's nothing up there." You see, they never went. That's why every few years they move the goalposts. First it was, we're going back to the moon. Then it became, we're skipping the moon, going straight to Mars. Now it's, let's build a space hotel in low Earth orbit instead. It's always just out of reach. Always theatrical, cinematic, tons of SFX, production, dramatic commentary, perfect lighting, but not once something we can see on the moon from down here. Not one part of the moon we can zoom in on to show we actually left an impact. Why? Because of the firmament. Ancient cultures talked about it, a barrier, a dome, call it whatever you want, but maybe it's not metaphor, maybe it's literal. Maybe it's been up there the whole time hiding in plain sight. And every space mission, just a performance to keep the illusion going, landing every rocket conveniently in the Bermuda Triangle. The rockets could just arc and land somewhere else. Floating astronauts could just be harnesses, water tanks, zero-G planes. The Mars footage could just be somewhere on Earth with a red filter slapped on top. It's not that they can't go back to the moon. It's that they never did. Even if there was no firmament, you couldn't walk on the moon anyway. And if the firmament is real, then we're not leaving Earth until Judgment Day.
I'm pretty sure that was an actual thing where like a NASA VFX artist said like, yeah, that we put a red filter over the photos. I forget what he said his reason was, or like justified reasoning, maybe to make, I think it's something like make it more realistic to what it actually looks like up there. Maybe because like it looks different through the pictures, and I don't know, it is red up there. I don't know. It's pretty sus. It's pretty dumb. I know I'm not talking as much in this video, but if you can look at my eyeballs, not doing too hot right now. So I'm talking when I'm taking a break from blowing my nose and sneezing.
People kind of think this idea of the dark continent beyond the ice wall is just a bad joke, right? But look, like I said, don't take my word for it. Take John Hemington's. Again, he's the one who streamed it on the dark web in 2020. Guy worked for a research and development company, private entity, right, knee-deep in aerial engineering. Okay, the designs they made for these jets were, I mean, just unbelievable. Look, obviously nobody at the company realized this guy had some lifelong vendetta to get over the ice wall, right? I mean, who in their right mind would think that? But September 2nd, 2020, he takes one of the company jets, brings a Starlink, bunch of streaming equipment, and he heads straight down off the coast of Florida toward Antarctica. And by the time he'd started the stream, hundreds of people just watched as he literally flew over what appeared to be a massive ice barrier. He keeps going and eventually stops on this undocumented landmass to get a night's rest. But the next day is where things took a pretty dark turn. As he's on his second day of flight, right? Sun goes down earlier than expected. He's thinking, well, that's strange. Sun only rose a few hours ago. Why the hell's it going down, right? And so he tries to wait for it to come back up to get a clear landing, but buddy, it never does. This is when he discovers the dark lands. This is when he discovers Pantheia.
I think I learned exactly how the fall of man occurred in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and Adam said one day, wow, Eve, here we are at one with nature, at one with God. We'll never age, we'll never die. And all our dreams come true the instant that we have them. And Eve said, yeah, it's just not enough, is it?
Wow. That's not funny.
I was just waiting for more.
Well, that was kind of his point.
Listen, you've been lied to your whole life. Earth isn't what you think it is. It's not a globe floating in space, and it's not just a flat plane either. The truth is much bigger, much stranger. Earth is just a crater, a single, isolated crater on an incomprehensibly massive planet. What we call Earth, the continents, the oceans, everything we know, exists within the walls of this enormous impact site. And beyond those walls, there are more craters, more Earths, more places like ours, cut off from each other, separated by vast, untraveled, and possibly untraversable distances. Think about it. That's why we're told we can't explore Antarctica freely. It's why every space mission feeds us the same curated images, the same rehearsed stories. Because space isn't what we think it is. What we see when we look up, the stars, the planets, the so-called infinite universe, could just be an artificial projection, a manufactured sky keeping us complacent, keeping us from asking what's really outside this crater. And that's the real question, isn't it? What's beyond? Why are we trapped here? Who or what built this system? And why is no one allowed to leave?
In exactly 8 days, Earth's magnetic field will experience an untraceable momentary inversion. Not a full reversal, just a glitch. For precisely 0.83 seconds, all compasses will spin wildly, birds will veer off course, and certain electronic devices will display cryptic, nonsensical messages most won't notice. But highly sensitive individuals, psychics, animals, and those with near-death experiences will report the same eerie sensation, as if something passed through them. A presence, not quite human, not quite machine. Scientists will dismiss it as an anomaly, a blip in the data, but deep space observatories will detect a brief, impossible signal. Not from space, but from the opposite side of reality itself. In the following days, patterns will emerge. People will begin speaking languages they've never learned. Childhood memories will shift in subtle but undeniable ways, and a handful of individuals will claim to have returned from somewhere else, though they can't remember where. Only that something there was watching and waiting.
So now you know, in 6 days from now, because that video was posted 2 days ago, if I hop on here and I'm speaking Chinese, that's new. That's a new development, because I don't speak any other languages besides Ebonics, fam. I think that's all I got in me today, guys. I'm going to go lay down. Hope you liked the video. Like, subscribe to the channel, comment below, let me know what you want to see in the next one, and I will see you guys then. Peace.